All right, I think we'll get going here. Again, there's still some people they're logging in, but they're I've sent some emails, but we'll catch up as we go. Appreciate everybody taking their time out of the day to talk all things life settlements. What we'll do today is the webinar itself obviously is titled "How to Obtain an Illustration for Life Settlement." And we're going to we'll get to that for sure. We're going to, it's a different, based on the registration, different levels of experience as far as life settlements go. So what I did want to do is take a couple steps back, not just one, but a couple steps back and introduce the life settlement concept in general. For the most part, y'all have probably heard about it. Some of you have probably done a couple in your days. But the big thing that we want to emphasize is that the industry has changed, and so we want to kind of explain that. So, and what that exactly means as far as the industry has changed. So, again, I'm Austin Barnes. I'm the Director of Policy Origination with Magna Life Settlements. Contact info is on the page. It'll also be at the end of the webinar. What I will say is typically on smaller webinars, I do open up for questions at the end. The registration today, which is awesome, is likely too big for that to be efficient. So what I would ask of you is to either give me a call. I am a salesperson, so I will answer your phone call 7 days a week, believe it or not. Or email obviously is good. Also, the Calendly is a way to just go in and book an appointment on my calendar. And that's we found to be an efficient way to do things as well. So really, let's talk about Magna first. We're going to talk about Magna in and of itself as an entity, and then we'll get into more of just the life settlements in general. So we are a top-ranked provider, and what a provider is in the life settlement business, you need to be licensed, which would make sense, right? You need to be licensed to be able to buy life insurance policies, which is what we do. And so we are a licensed provider in all 50 states. And over the last 4 years, we've deployed more capital than anybody else in the industry. And what that means is it means that we're paying the most for those policies. So you're going to hear competition say, well, we bought the most, which is a true statement. What we're saying is that we've paid the most per policy for those policies. And so on average, not the two, we obviously like to use big numbers, right? But on average, on an average case of $2 million, we've spent on average $600,000 for those policies. So just to give you an idea of the amount, when I meet folks that are kind of new to the conversation, it's like, well, my client has $1 million policy. What can I expect them to get for a payout? And obviously, it's case by case, no different than when you're writing insurance. But the answer is, it varies, but 20 to 25% on average. And so we're proud of that. And a big reason that we're able to do so is that we're owned and funded by Vita Capital, which Vita Capital is basically we've got multiple funds, but we're a hedge fund. We're a multi-billion-dollar longevity contingent asset manager. And so, which is a fancy way of saying a hedge fund. And so what we do is, we work in tune with Vita, where people invest in the policies that we own in the fund, and we then use those dollars to go and acquire new policies. And so as you can imagine, when there's a maturity, money flows into the fund. That's how our investors get their return, and then we use those new dollars to go and acquire new assets. We are located in Austin, Texas, both Vita and Magna, and have worked in unison for over a decade. So life settlement in and of itself, like I said, we're going to take two steps back. One Magna, and I'll take another step back. So life settlement is really, life insurance is property. And there was a Supreme Court ruling in 1911 that said life insurance is property and can be bought, sold, and traded as such. And so what that means is you have an asset, and people don't know that you have an asset. And so really what a life settlement is getting some value for that asset in excess of what the cash value is, but obviously less than the face amount. So there has to be profitability for it to make work for everybody. And so really how it works is you have a policy, your client has a policy. You sell that policy for cash. You would no longer have to pay premiums on that policy. And then the buyer, which in our case is Magna, receives the value upon the insured's death. So if you're looking at the aspects of a life insurance contract, your client is no longer the owner, the payer, or the beneficiary. They're simply the insured. And so we take ownership and the burden of the premium, and then obviously are the beneficiary. And so the only thing, and we're not going to get too far in the weeds on this presentation, but the other part is clients can do other than just cash. They can retain some benefits. So I'm working on a case this morning. The client has a $9 million policy. They have no cash need whatsoever. They've got a lot of assets, and they just want to keep some of the death benefit. They're just sick of it's right around $250,000 a year for the $9 million case, or $9 million death benefit. They just don't want to pay the premiums any longer. So what we're looking to do in that case is, they're 81 years old. We're looking to have them, retain about 50%. So somewhere between 4.5 and 4.8 million of where they're the irrevocable beneficiary. And so it's not a promise from Magna. It's actually, they're the beneficiary at the carrier level. And then it's like a split dollar plan where we're the other part of the beneficiary, but no cash out of pocket. Let's talk about how to obtain an illustration. So y'all are life insurance agents and have looked at and run many illustrations. And the point of this presentation is to say that it's slightly different for a life settlement. And the reason for that is that, as you can imagine, we want to look at, as the owner of the new policy, we want to pay the minimum premiums that we can and still have the policy last until that person matures. And so there's a few things that we have as tools, which is why my contact info is important. I can get these tools out to you, but there's really two main things that we use to help agents and advisors, attorneys, CPAs figure out if they have a policy. And the first one is our life settlement calculator. So I always say everyone has a calculator. Bankrate.com, you can go and you can get a calculator for anything. And that is what we have, but it's significantly more robust than that. What we've created, and the technology people are amazing that they could do this, is that we created an actual calendar based on the policies we've underwritten in the past. And so it isn't like a generality of, okay, you're this age and you're this, and it's going to be an average. It's actual policies that we looked at, including the ones of people that were too healthy and didn't qualify. So we can get you that link, and really just you plug it in. It's like, I got $1 million policy with John Hancock on this age, this gender, this type of policy, the issue class, so the health it was issued at, and then we put that into the system, and then it sends out an output. But then after that, you can there's a toggle where there's 5 different health classes. So you look at the issue health, let's say it's preferred, and then because it's your client, that they're significantly impaired at this point. And so you can toggle down to, worse or significantly worse on the health status, and it'll increase the values. Or, obviously if they're healthier, which is very, very unlikely, it's probably going to have 0 value based on, people can get healthier, but typically not the case, right? So that's one thing. Then PerformX, we'll talk about this. PerformX is a phenomenal partnership that we have. It's an in-force, what I like to call an inventory platform. So I meet an agent who's been with Lincoln for 30 years. He's written outside of Lincoln, but for the most part, he's got Lincoln policies. We can actually work with that agent to get, even if it's on an Excel spreadsheet, get a block of all the in-force business that they're the servicing agent on, and then we PerformX, and we'll get more into the weeds on what their platform looks like. We can actually sort and do policy estimates based on that platform. And we'll talk about how that works. The illustration, we can help you get that. PerformX, that's what piece of what PerformX can do. And that's really what we're all on the call to talk about today. A lot of agents prefer that to do that themselves, and really they're just on here to learn about, what the perfect illustration looks like for what we're looking for, which we'll get into that. And then submit to myself and my team and get some preliminary values out of that conversation. So again, I already got ahead of myself on what the calculator looks like, but really there's a price curve for every contract. So if we look at it, the light blue is the current health status, right? The yellow is what they're originally underwritten at. So 30 years ago, this is what the cost of insurance looked like. This is what the Social Security table said that a person that's 57 years old with this issue class is going to live to X. And I don't know if X is 79 or 81, but it was X, right? Well, the fact of the matter is where the life settlement value comes in is the arbitrage between those two. And so people, it's a different frame of mind when you're prospecting. So, I'll talk with agents and we'll talk for 15 minutes and then they'll stop me and say, wait, so you're looking for sick people, which is a morbid statement. But for the business that we're in, yes, we're looking for individuals that are less healthy than they were when they got their policy. And that's really what this arbitrage curve looks like. And then on the bottom where it says, current health status, like I said, you can toggle 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and that'll change the value in the top right corner of the 100,000. And it'll be on the spot. Now, the cool part is we can then, if you look at the very, very top, step 3 is share results with client. You can actually click that button and it'll create a nice PDF that you can then send directly to your client. And so they're not writing something down on a napkin, and they know that you took your time and did the due diligence, and this is custom made for that individual and that individual contract. And it's not a generality. You took the time to put in all the information prior to that. So it's pretty neat stuff. Again, previously mentioned Performex. So really, I call it an inventory manager. In-force policy management is a great, the technical term, I guess. And what we've done, it says subsidized subscription. So what we've done is that we have, again, partnered up with Performex. And so we can't see your client's information. Performex can, and they sign an NDA and they'll never go around and send us the information without your consent. I have agents that say, Austin, I just want you to look at the output and you tell me what 10 people I should call. So if you give us permission, we will and can do that. But in the event that that's not something you're comfortable with, that's fine. It's proprietary information between you and the Performex platform. So again, what they'll do is they'll send an output of everybody that looks like, okay, red to green. So red to green is we're looking at policy anniversaries on a given date at a given issue class that look good for life settlement. And so you pay the subscription with them, and I'm definitely not in the role of talking about Performex and their subscriptions. What I am here to say is it's a situation where they charge a fee for their, for anything good, you're going to pay for it. They charge a fee for their process and services, and you pay per policy on average. So what we'll do is we'll look at it and say, okay, great, you've got a great list of opportunities here. We'll subsidize everybody over 70 for that cost. And the reason we're doing that is that, this program is probably, we're 9 months into the partnership. It is become crystal clear what a good investment that is for us. Because the hardest part about a life settlement, and the one thing, and career agents that make a great living selling insurance, the one piece of feedback that I get, and we always get, is that it's hard. Often it's hard. It's hard to find them. It's hard to talk about it. It's hard to underwrite it. And I look at that and say, well, it's not easy, but it's simple. What Performex does in the agent calculator is it alleviates the stressors of all of the upfront work. And it's really easy to go to a client and say, that $1 million policy that on mom that you guys are going to drop because you don't want to pay the premiums anymore, I can get $250,000 for that policy. And people are like, how does that even exist? How's that possible? And so that part's easy. Rarely do we have a client that says that's a bad idea. But the upfront work is the hard part. And so the Performex platform and the agent calculator really would alleviate the hard part. And we've invested a lot of money into that. I've been in the space about 6.5 years. I was an agent for 12 prior to that. And the reason I joined Magna is because of the amount of money they've invested into the technology and the again, I called inventory because that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for blocks of business that have an inventory. And so this is a quote from the CEO for Formex. We've gotten, obviously, really well. It just says, combining in-force policy monitoring and settlement evaluations to help agents provide their clients with clarity on how their policy is performing and whether the policy continues to meet their needs or not, and what options are available. Again, a big part of what happens with Performex is we engage in the conversation for life settlements, but they can run a term conversion list. They can run a lapse list. And what ends up happening is, let's say you have that 70-year-old or that 71-year-old in perfect health, not a life settlement candidate. They're going to, their LE says they're going to live another 20 years, life expectancy. Well, you now did your due diligence where you can go back and say, you're extremely healthy, and this new product with XYZ company is going to fit your needs better than the current one. Because the current one you're in is looking at what your health should be at this age when you bought it in 1982. There's new products that now say, okay, your health at this age, you should own this product. And so agents are, evaluating a life settlement, which is always a great due diligence idea, but they're also selling a lot of new coverage because they're finding better products. And again, like Mike said, modify, replace, or sell. Well, modify and replace are going to be the large percentage of the conversation because we're looking for that niche person who's, in their mid to late 70s, early 80s and not great health and needs some capital or doesn't want to pay the premium or both, but modify and replace happens significantly more often than I would like it to happen as a salesperson, but it's a great thing either way for the agent. So how it works is that, as far as how it works with Performex and our partnership is that when you apply simply means we get on the phone together, we talk about your practice, we talk about how long you've been in the business, who you wrote your insurance through, how many insureds you have, et cetera, right? Like there's no application. It's a conversation with me. We just, as marketing folks trying to make it look fancy, but we just talk about it. And I'll be very, I hope personality comes through the call. I'll be very forward with you if you're not a candidate because I just want to be efficient with everybody's time, including Performex. And then in the event that it does qualify and you feel good about it and I feel good and we say, yeah, let's go, let's move forward. Sign a consent form, which really is saying you're agreeing that we're going to help you with this. You're also in there, you're going to see that we do not have an opportunity to have access to your proprietary information, your client's information. But also, obviously, there's a reason that you're consenting. And what you're consenting to is, again, there's a few buyers. Our space has consolidated significantly in the last 5 years, but there's other buyers out there, other competition. Now, they're not bringing you the information we are. They're not giving you the agent calculator. They're not subsidizing. So the idea of that is all we ask for is first and last. So in the event that we move forward and do business together, I want my team to be the first set of eyes on the valuation, and you have all the right in the world to send to other buyers. Happens a lot less than you would think, and a big part of that is, again, my job is to build relationships. But you have all the right in the world to go and send that to other buyers. You're going to have to, you'll go through all the process and all their paperwork and all that, which is fine. But then I want last. So you come in and you're like, Austin, you're not the high bid. You give me the last opportunity to beat that bid by $1. Again, happens less than you'd think, meaning people shop, and I've lost cases, and that's the best part. The best part is your client is the one that wins, and you win. Obviously, I want to win every case. It's just not reality. So that's what the consent form is, first and last. And again, if y'all reach out or do a Calendly and we do a personal appointment, I can get you obviously that agreement. And then you just look through, and really what will happen at that point is you work with Performex. They will essentially run your client list, qualify the top opportunities for life settlements, and then either you can contact and work with those clients directly. And then the information, again, what I need is an illustration and, a HIPAA and a physician's list. So only 3 things. Or what most agents have done with our team is they say, you know what, I want to do this with the experts. And so they'll, with the consent of the agent, and again, then we sign a non-disclosure, but they'll send that block of policies via the Excel spreadsheet to my team, and then we'll work with them directly. Meaning we'll do joint calls with the insureds or the insured children or the trustees, the advisors, the attorneys. And frankly, that is how I would prefer to do it. It's a lot of time during the day, but it makes the process significantly more efficient. And more importantly, everybody's on the same page. So you don't get the sale time, and then you have one kid of the three that's a beneficiary that won't sign off, because everybody needs to sign off on the conversation. So that's really it on that. Again, proprietary information with Performex, we do not have access to that. Once you have that block of policies, every agent's different how they want to approach it. I can give you marketing material for those consumers. I had somebody that had 797 policies that qualified, and he and his team are like, we're not going to call these people. So give us something we can send via email. They put it in their newsletter, their monthly newsletter. And then we did end up sending out, I don't know, 100 hard copies in the mail. Varied response, but the point of that is that we'll work with you individually on how you want to customize it. So the illustration itself, which is the name of the webinar and why you're all on the call, it's actually, I've probably made it sound more complicated than it is. But again, I'm a sales guy, so that's how it works. Really, when it comes down to it, what we need, there's two ways to get one. Well, there's three ways, really. If you're the servicing agent, as you know, you can just call the carrier and ask it directly. If you're not the servicing agent, let's say you're their wealth manager, but you didn't write the policy, then you do need the insured on the phone, but you simply call that same 800 number to the carrier, and you simply ask for this, which is, if you look at it, we always work on the non-guaranteed current assumptions, because if we worked on guaranteed, nothing would price out correctly. And you simply ask for a policy, an in-force illustration with minimum premiums due to get to as close as $1,000 of account value at maturity as possible. So if you look at what's on your screen right now, you've got the $12,259 premium payment. It will build a cash value that will peak out in year 16, which is at age 89. That's actually 88, year 15, $67,679. And then it'll decrease after that. And the reason for that, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, but the reason for that is that the cost of insurance in a universal life policy, which is typically what we're looking for life settlements, is that the cost of insurance is continually going up internally, even though that premium's fixed. And that's why you have your clients call that say, I remember the years, Austin, where we had 150,000 of cash value, and now it's all gone, and they're asking for more premium to keep it alive. Well, the reason for that is that the hockey stick cost of insurance is increasingly going up, which is why we have a business, frankly. That's the reason we have a business. And that these policies were illustrated in the 80s and 90s with the crediting rate, and some of you remember, probably all of you remember, the crediting rate in the double digits with the minimum of 3 or 4, 3.5, 3, and now they've all been paying minimum crediting or 50 basis points over that for the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years. So we have a perfect storm, which really created the life settlement business in general. One, you got a policy where the cost of insurance is going to internally increase without you knowing it. And two, the crediting rates can't keep up. So what this illustration is saying, so if you just called and asked for a current in-force, the premium might be more than $12,259, might be less, but it's likely not this number, because this is getting out to exactly age 100 to maturity. So minimum premiums due to get to maturity with as close to $1,000 of account value as possible. This one's in this case $1,002. So again, questions on that on the follow-up, more than willing to chat through that. The third way you obtain it, so either you're a servicing agent or you call with the insured and they say, Barbara Johnson, here's my Social Security, I have my agent on the phone, I'm going to hand it over. That's all you have to do. They legally have to give you what you request. or PerformX, that's part of their platform. You get those 100 policies that you identify that we've qualified and subsidized as a life settlement, so no money out of pocket on your end as the agent or advisor. And then PerformX can run those, get those in-force illustrations as well for you. So 3 ways. Our submission process, again, start with the agent calculator, which I'll get you the link for, and do your own self-assessment. By the way, like when we have those big blocks where there's 50 or 100 policies we think we qualify, you can work with my technology team directly, and we can mass upload those into the calculator. So you don't have to sit there and enter all the information on your own. It takes a while, we need a couple days to do that, but we can mass upload those into our system. So then I can spit those 100 policies back out to you and look at the values based on those 5 health criteria. Currently, okay, this one's worth nothing, this one's worth X, 100 grand, 150. We can do that in a mass quantity as well. So we're more than willing to do that. Then all I need really I don't think I mentioned this earlier. For us to submit and get an evaluation and get a real, and by evaluation I mean a real number, not like a preliminary number, we need that in-force illustration, which is again what we're here to talk about, a signed HIPAA, and a list of doctors for that insured. We pay for all the costs to obtain those records. As agents who write life insurance, we all know how tough the medical record game can be. We've got a team fully dedicated to just simply working with the clinics and getting the proper release forms and all that done. And then we'll go from there. The beauty is once I have that illustration, I can get it to the pricing team, and we'll have a pretty good idea of the value that's there on an estimated basis to know if we want to move forward. Because a lot of agents say, again, on this $9 million case, it's like, I'm not going to them, Austin, unless I know that there's X amount of value or more in this. So we just started with the illustration. Frankly, I didn't ask, but I don't even think the clients knew that we were evaluating it. But he, as an advisor to them and their wealth manager, he's like, I need to know a number to go to the family with, or I'm not going to do it. And so, like I said, that one priced out well, and they wanted to look at retained benefits. So that was great. And once we were there, then I got the HIPAA signed and a list of docs. And then, and again, the investment in technology that Magna has done has been unbelievable. We now have a DocuSign HIPAA. So I can send you a link. They put their email in, they sign in, they click the button, it goes directly to my submission and pricing team. So you can, and then the physicians list doesn't have to be signed. So if you simply can get that over the phone, or they just tell you that over the phone, you can get a submission in without a single signature, which is pretty remarkable when we think about how many signatures it takes to, apply for life insurance or open up an IRA account, right? So we can actually get a policy into underwriting, fully priced without any signatures. Obviously, if we're going to buy that, we go to contract. That's a whole different game because you're buying somebody's policy, so it's a pretty robust contracting packet, but which is good, protects everybody. So that's really it. Again, my contact information, and just when you reach out, just say you're on I'm in Texas right now, so the 11 a.m. Central webinar or whatever time you're on. But just reference that you're on the illustration webinar, and I think you can tell again. I hope the personality comes through the phone, but this is a hand-to-hand business, like financial services has been for 200 plus years, and so I give you my cell phone number and we go after it, and we're doing really well, and we want to just keep working with agents, whether it's brand new or you've been doing this for 15 years. I want to earn that business too. So hope you're all well. Appreciate you attending, and again, happy Wednesday, and have a great rest of the week and July, really.